The lake spirit had flowing silver hair like water and wore elegant robes made of shimmering light that danced around the body. The spirit floated gently above the water surface and looked down at the frightened woodcutter with calm, wise, and very kind eyes. The woodcutter could not believe what he was seeing, but somehow he felt no fear, only a strange, warm sense of hope in heart. The lake spirit smiled gently at the woodcutter and then slowly descended back down beneath the glowing surface of the water. The woodcutter waited nervously by the shore, watching the rippling water with curious eyes, wondering what would happen next. After a few moments, the spirit rose up again from the lake, this time holding something that sparkled brilliantly in the light. It was a magnificent golden axe, shining so brightly like the sun itself, with a beautiful handle decorated with precious gems. The spirit held out the golden axe toward the woodcutter and asked silently with gentle eyes if this precious axe belonged to him. The woodcutter stared at the beautiful golden axe with wide eyes, amazed by its incredible beauty and unimaginable great value. But he knew deep in his honest heart that this was not his axe, so he slowly shook his head from side to side, saying no. The spirit nodded calmly at his answer, showing no surprise at all, and then gently lowered back down into the glowing lake. The woodcutter continued to wait patiently by the lakeside, his heart beating fast with hope that his own axe would be found. Once again, the magical water began to glow and ripple, and the beautiful lake spirit rose gracefully up from the shining depths. This time, the spirit was holding a different axe, one made entirely of pure, gleaming silver that reflected the evening light. The silver axe was also very beautiful, with elegant floral patterns carved along the blade and a polished, smooth wooden handle. The spirit extended the silver axe toward the woodcutter, once again asking with kind eyes if this valuable axe was his own. The woodcutter looked carefully at the shining silver axe, admiring its fine craftsmanship and obviously very high precious worth. But again, his honest heart told him the truth clearly, so he shook his head once more and refused to claim what was not his. The spirit smiled softly with an understanding look in those wise, ancient eyes, then disappeared beneath the water once again. The woodcutter stood waiting with a heavy heart, wondering if he would ever see his beloved old iron axe once again in life. For the third time, the lake spirit emerged slowly from the water, rising up with gentle grace surrounded by soft magical light. In the spirit hands was an old rusty iron axe with a worn wooden handle, looking simple and humble compared to the others. The moment the woodcutter saw it, his eyes grew wide with joy and recognition, for he knew this axe better than anything else. He jumped up excitedly and nodded his head many times, very fast, pointing at the axe with pure happiness shining in his eyes. This was truly his axe, the same old faithful tool that had helped him survive and work hard for so many difficult years. The spirit gently floated forward and placed the iron axe into the woodcutter's trembling hands with a warm and knowing smile. The woodcutter held his axe tightly against his chest, tears of joy and relief streaming down his happy, weathered old face. The lake spirit looked at the woodcutter with deep admiration and respect, truly moved by his pure and honest, simple heart. The spirit raised both hands gracefully, and the golden axe and silver axe magically appeared floating in the glowing evening air with a gentle wave. The spirit sent all three axes floating softly down toward the surprised and confused young woodcutter below. The woodcutter caught the axes one by one in his arms, looking up at the spirit with complete shock and disbelief in his eyes. The spirit smiled warmly and nodded slowly, letting him know that these precious gifts were now his reward for being so honest. The woodcutter bowed down deeply many times to show his endless gratitude, holding all three axes close to his grateful heart. The lake spirit began to fade away slowly, the glowing light growing softer and dimmer, until only sparkles remained in the air. Finally, the spirit vanished completely beneath the calm water, leaving the woodcutter standing alone with his amazing new treasure. The happy woodcutter walked home through the forest, carrying all 3 precious axes carefully in his arms with greatest care. When he arrived at his small, humble hut, he placed the golden and silver axes safely inside his home on the wooden table. He sold the golden axe and silver axe at the market for a very good price, finally having enough money to live comfortably. With his new wealth, he fixed his old broken hut and bought good food and warm clothes for the coming cold winter season. But every single day, he still went into the forest to work hard, using his faithful old iron axe just like before always. The woodcutter never forgot the important lesson he learned that day, that honesty is always the most valuable treasure of all. He lived the rest of his long life in peace and happiness, respected by everyone in the village for his kind, honest heart. And so the honest woodcutter story teaches us all that truth and honesty will always be rewarded in the end of every tale.